Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and it's time once again for another video. This time out, I wanted to do something a little bit different. This is going to be not just a review, but a little bit of a rant about Star Wars: The Last Jedi, also known as Episode 8. This film has been sort of divisive in the Star Wars community. Some people really love it, some people really hate it, and very few are in the middle. I am one of the people in the middle, so I'm going to tell you my thoughts on the film, a little bit about what I think went right, what went wrong. There's both. And I will also talk about some of the things that have pissed people off about the movie and my thoughts about those things. So here we go. First off, I wanted to sort of establish where I'm coming from with Star Wars. I started enjoying and loving Star Wars when I was 9 years old. I was 9 years old in 1977. I saw the original Star Wars in theaters many times. So I've been around since the beginning. The first thing I ever bought with my allowance when I was 9 years old was the Star Wars paperback adaptation that was ghostwritten by Alan Dean Foster and credited to George Lucas. That was literally the first thing I ever bought with my $2 a week allowance back in 1977. So I've been in since this all started. So I've seen, the original films, the special editions, the prequels, of course The Force Awakens, and now The Last Jedi. I've been to the theater to see all of them, if not the first day they were out, very damn close to it. And The Last Jedi's been out now a week at the time I'm recording this, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a review, but there's going to be spoilers in this, okay? So there will be spoilers galore. So if you've not seen the film, this is your last chance to get off the bus. Get out while the getting's good. Okay, so I have established my street cred. I have watched these films on VHS. I've watched them on DVD. And I own them on Blu-ray. So yeah, I've got I've got many hours of watching the original trilogy. And since the first movie came out 40 years ago, there have been lulls in the trilogy, or in the saga. For 16 years, between 1983 and 1999, there were no movies. And I was still watching movies, watching the original trilogy, reading some of the paperback books and the extended universe that came out, all that kind of stuff. When the prequels came out, I was probably a little more forgiving of them than I should have been. I was just damn happy to have new Star Wars films, but I find them really hard to watch at this point. I will still watch them occasionally while they're on TV, if there's nothing else on. But they're really hard to swallow. I don't like where they went. I don't like what they did. I thought The Force Awakens was a really welcome piece of nostalgia. I think it did what it had to do, which was reintroduce the old characters to a new audience and reintroduce the whole situation where these characters are now. And then, of course, introduce some new characters so new fans could jump on board with the same excitement that we all got the chance to do back when we were kids, with the advent of Rey and Kylo Ren and Finn and Poe Dameron, all those guys, plus Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, General Leia now, General Organa. So for the Force Awakens, there were a lot of people who were pissed off that Han Solo died. And I didn't get upset when Han Solo died. I didn't cry. I didn't react, emotionally. I thought, okay, two things just happened. One, Harrison Ford finally got his wish that Han Solo got killed off so he wouldn't be asked to do any more Star Wars films because he wanted to die in Return of the Jedi. And two, we've established that Kylo Ren has some pretty deep issues with A, his father, and B, coming to terms with the fact that he has to do everything in his power to eliminate the temptation to go back to the light side of the Force. And killing his dad would pretty much establish that, he's got some issues and he needs to have the dark side on his side. So going into The Last Jedi, I figured there was a possibility that the remaining two classic characters, Leia and Luke, could possibly die. We get one of them dies, but not the one who died in real life in 2016, which is strange. I thought, here we go, if you're going to kill off a character, you're not going to have this particular actress to be able to play that character. If you kill off the character, that makes sense. And that means no disrespect to Carrie Fisher and no disrespect to anybody who really, to her character that she brought to the film, plus her as a person. I mean, I'm just talking about the character and the inevitable reality of what do you do when the real person dies while you're producing a series of films that needs her at its core. If you've got the perfect opportunity, you kill her off. Okay, well, this film half-asses that for her, and I'll get to that, but kills off Luke. Rian Johnson makes it pretty apparent from the get-go that he's going to throw expectations out the window. From the opening scene where Rey hands Luke the lightsaber, which is the closing scene of The Force Awakens and one of the first scenes in Last Jedi, and he takes that lightsaber and he throws it over his shoulder off of a cliff. That's a pretty clear indication that this is not going to do what you expect it to do, the film that is. When I saw that, I thought, okay, that's interesting. But think about it. It's a surprise, but when was the last time we were truly surprised by a Star Wars film? Now I'm talking the Star Wars, the trilogy, the prequels, and Rogue One, and of course Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Well, not including The Last Jedi, because I'm going to talk about that. But when was the last time we were surprised by a Star Wars film? Something that happened. Would be Luke finding out that Darth Vader was his father in Empire, right? Distant second, finding out that Luke and Leia are brother and sister, which made things creepy, and it was surprising, but it was nowhere near as big a shock as in 1980 when we found out that Luke had a father and his name was Darth Vader, and it wasn't Anakin Skywalker anymore. That was a pretty big surprise. But since then, what have we had? Nothing. The prequels were all, we knew it was going to happen. It told the story of how Darth Vader came out of Anakin Skywalker. We knew it was going to happen. This just told the story. Rogue One, we knew what was going to happen. We found that out in the opening scenes of Star Wars. They got the plans. This just tells us how they did it. There really wasn't anything surprising. Well, possibly the ending, but how else would you cap that off when there's no mention of these characters anywhere else in Star Wars lore? Okay, you kill them all. For the first time in this franchise, Star Wars can surprise us again with this movie, and it does so several times in this movie alone, and I think that's what's pissing people off, is the fact that there are a lot of surprises in The Last Jedi. Things don't go the way you think they're going to go, or the way they should go. Star Wars has become predictable. It's become dependable. You know what's going to happen. In the prequels, you knew it was going to happen because the original trilogy spelled out what would happen. Rogue One, same thing. So Force Awakens was a nice little nostalgic semi-remake of A New Hope. It was predictable, but it needed to be. It had to set the stage for this new trilogy to get people on board. Okay, so now everybody's on board. We've got new characters, we've got old characters. What can you do to surprise people? You can take those expectations and chuck them out the window. And that's exactly what Luke does when he throws that lightsaber over his shoulder. He chucks expectations out the window. And Rian Johnson, who wrote and directed The Last Jedi, is the one responsible for these changes and these expectation-killing things that happen. So, establishing that Star Wars can now surprise us again, I think was the thing that really pissed a lot of people off. Now, do I think that because it surprises us that The Last Jedi is a great movie? No, I don't. I have some problems with several parts of it. I thought some of it was very good. I liked the opening bombing run scene with the dreadnought. I thought that was pretty cool, despite the fact that they really are using bombs that use gravity in outer space, and there's no gravity in outer space. But we've seen that before in Star Wars. There were TIE bombers in The Empire Strikes Back. So that's nothing new. People blaming that on Rian Johnson. Hey, let's look at Empire Strikes Back, the greatest film in this entire saga. It had gravity in space. And all of these movies have sound in space, so let's not nitpick, okay? I thought the showdown on the Salt Planet was really cool, despite the fact that Rose made her little heroic gesture that could have killed her and Finn. I thought that was kind of stupid. But overall, I thought that whole scene or whole scenario was pretty cool. I thought the battle wasn't really much of a battle. It was an entire force bearing down on the hideout. I thought the whole setup, though, was pretty cool. There are people who have taken offense to the way Luke was portrayed in this film, that he's this surly curmudgeon now. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the Force. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the Resistance. He doesn't want to be a hero anymore. And I think the fact that he is no longer the hope that the Resistance can depend on pisses people off. But at some point, there has to be a new hope, pun intended, and that new hope is Rey. And she's, to sound like a Pepsi commercial, she's the new hope for the next generation. Luke can't be the it guy forever. So we've got Rey, who is learning her place in the world or the galaxy or the Force or whatever, however you want to put it, and she's now the surrogate Luke. It's just the nature of time. And I know Yoda lived to be 800 years old according to the Star Wars universe, or 900 years old or 600 years old, whatever he was. But he was a different character, and he didn't carry himself or act the same way that Luke did. And Luke's final act in this film, which caused him to die, I thought was a great way for him to go out. He still went out as a man who had pride and peace with himself. He did something that aided his friends. It still contributed to the Resistance without him actively having to be there, and it sapped him of all of his energy, and he passed away looking plaintively off into the sunset. It was very picturesque. No matter how you kill off a major character, it's going to piss somebody off, but I think they did as good as they could do, I can't think of a better way for him to go out, because he's Luke Skywalker. Nobody is going to be able to kill Luke Skywalker off in a way that's going to make everybody happy. It's going to, ruffle some feathers. There you go. It's just going to happen. So if you don't like it, oh well. One thing I didn't like was Leia's floating in space scene. I thought that movie was that scene was more dopey than dramatic and majestic. It could have been very surprising to just have her killed off as, she was blown out of the spaceship, the Rebel cruiser by a TIE fighter, and she's dead. What more fitting way for a general to go out in combat? But for some reason, they brought her back and put her in a coma, and then she's fine later, and that was really weird and surprising because, again, Carrie Fisher passed away in real life. You've got an out. If you're going to make a surprising death, there you go. You could have had it right there. But I think maybe killing off two beloved characters, especially one in such a quick way, and then Luke in the way that he went out, I think they had to cross paths, and I think for fan service, basically, so Luke had to have some connection or reunion with Leia just to kind of close that before Luke passed away, and that wouldn't have been possible had Leia died when she did, or could have died. So I think that's the only reason that scene kind of doesn't fit, but it served a purpose, and now I guess she's free to die whenever in the next movie. Who knows what's going to happen there. I thought the Casino Planet diversion was really stupid. I thought it was very prequel-y, if that's a word. I don't think Rian Johnson knew what to do with Finn. Everybody seems to have some sort of part to play in the overall plot, except for Finn, so they sort of send him and this new character Rose off to do this rather stupid side mission that the only reason it seems to exist is A, to give him something to do, and because they don't even succeed in this mission, it gives him a way to confront Captain Phasma and have some sort of closure with that aspect of his past. So I guess it serves a purpose in that way, but really, could he not have tagged along with somebody else and, played some other part some other way? I don't know. But I think Finn was sort of underserved by this film, and maybe he'll serve more of a purpose in the next one. I thought Kylo Ren was actually much improved in this particular film than he was in Force Awakens. I was actually very glad to see him destroy the stupid mask and the voice changer thing that he had. Snoke called him out on it and said, get rid of that ridiculous thing. And that's exactly what I thought. Every time he talked, I thought it was stupid when he had the mask on in Force Awakens. And to see that tossed out so early in this movie was a welcome sight and a welcome addition to the whole film. I thought the telepathic or Force conversations between Kylo Ren and Rey, I thought those were kind of cool and pretty good. And I liked Rey a lot more this time out. I thought she was a more developed character. Last time we didn't know that much about her. She just seemed to be able to do anything and everything she put her mind to. Some called her out as being a Mary Sue character. And I didn't think that was the case so much in the first one, but here we learn a little bit more about her. Not so much about her past, because we learned something pretty shocking about her past, considering all the fan theories about going around about how somehow she's the lost daughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, or she's a lost Skywalker, or she's actually a lost child of Leia and Han, or whatever. Here we find out she's the child of two drunks who sold her for beer money. And I actually think that's another surprise, and I think it's welcome, because I think the Star Wars universe has depended way too much on the Skywalker bloodline. You couldn't be anybody in the Star Wars universe unless you A, had Skywalker blood in your veins, or you palled around with somebody who had Skywalker blood in your inner veins, or their veins, his veins. So I think the fact that Rey is possibly, of course, again, this could be a red herring from Kylo Ren, but if it is true that she is nothing more than the product of two drunks who sold her for beer money, I think they put it a little more eloquently in the film, but you get the point. I think that would just be super refreshing, that it reinforces what Luke says earlier in the film, that the Force isn't something that you're born into. You can be somebody great and not be anybody, or something to that effect. I've only seen the movie once, so I can't quote it verbatim yet. I did think the humor in the film was a lot more prevalent, and the film is worse off for it. I thought that it was included in some scenes just to elicit really cheap laughs rather than to punctuate a scene or diffuse the drama in a way that was effective. I think the Hux on hold scene and the Luke milking the big walrus creature thing, whatever that was, were two examples of that. I really didn't like either of those scenes, especially the Hux on hold with Poe Dameron type whatever. Because do you put people on hold in the Star Wars galaxy? Do they have phones? Do they have the concept of hold? When you have holograms and Force communication and all that, do you put people on hold? I just thought that was kind of stupid. And I thought most of the humor fell flat, but being that this was the first movie with a lot of humor in it since Jar Jar Binks, we survived that, didn't we? We survived Jar Jar Binks. We'll survive the humor in this film. So do I think that The Last Jedi has killed Star Wars? No, I don't. I think it's just it's an okay film. It's better than the prequels, and we lived through the prequels. We still bought tickets for The Force Awakens after the prequels. We still bought tickets for The Last Jedi after the prequels and after The Force Awakens. We're going to pay money to see Episode 9 when it comes out. And if you're saying, oh, you're done with Star Wars after this, you'll watch the next one. Even if you don't go to see it on the first day it comes out like you did this one, you'll see Episode 9. It'll just happen. They've got you. if you're into this, like you think you're into this, or that you think you were into this when you say that this movie raped your childhood or all that kind of stuff, curiosity is gonna kill you, and you're gonna come back and you're gonna watch episode 9. So I think what we should do is we should all just, everybody who's ranting and raving, now the people who think, okay, this was a good movie, you may want to watch it again and see some of those scenes that you didn't like, and if you hated it, you may want to watch it again and kind of pay attention to the scenes that you did like, and just be happy that it's 2017 going on 2018 and we're still talking about Star Wars as a relevant piece of pop culture. Just, that's cool to me. I mean, I've grown up with Star Wars. It's been a part of my life since I was a little kid, and here I am. I'm 49 years old. I'm still talking about Star Wars. I'm still able to go to see a Star Wars movie in the theater and still get excited about it. But in the ultimate overall scheme of things, it's just a movie. It's just a set of stories about characters that never existed in the first place. Let's not get so upset about it, okay? If you don't like what happened to Luke Skywalker, remember the person that may have passed away in your life. You didn't like that, the way that happened. Things don't always go the way you planned. And I think having a franchise take a big chance and hand over the writing and directing to somebody who is relatively inexperienced in terms of major motion pictures. Rian Johnson has helmed Looper and Brick and some short films. And he claims he was a lifelong Star Wars fan, and this is what he turned in. I don't think it's any worse than I could have done. And I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan. Would I have made changes that would have pissed people off? Probably. Would they have been what you were thinking? Probably not. So, what can I say? So I think everybody just needs to settle down and just realize this is just a movie. You don't have a conniption. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I've only seen it once, so there may be things about it that I've missed. This is just a rant pretty much off the top of my head. I wrote a few notes just to help me stay sort of focused so I didn't ramble for 25 minutes. Who knows how long this video is at this point. But I don't know. That's all I can say is The Last Jedi is not the greatest film in the world. It's not the end of the world either. So just relax. Pull your panties out of your butt and go see the next one when it comes out and try to enjoy it. If you don't, that's fine too. There you go. As always, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you would like this video, you want to see more of what I do, click the little bell on my channel and you'll get notified when I make a new video. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Thanks for letting me rant for a little bit. This is, like I said, something different and something new and something I probably won't do much of again. And I don't mean to come off as a pompous ass. It's just that, really, it's a movie. Okay? Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.